Cooler Talk presented by Arctic. It's Friday. John Harris is super excited. I'm super excited. We are inside the Arctic studio. We're taking your fan questions, and be sure to drop those in below. Also, while we're waiting on some of those questions, we have an Arctic ticket giveaway. You can win a pair of tickets to the Texans-Titans game. You can enter to win. The link is also in the comments below. All right, Johnny. I feel like I'm so bundled up for the Arctic.
I know.
The Arctic, the Cooler
you and
Talk.
Me both.
It's
like
freezing
on.
in here.
I mean,
I realize it's going to be 70 later.
Well, it's going to be somewhat chilly in Nashville, so we got to get prepared.
It was snowing earlier this week in Nashville. I don't think it's going to snow on Sunday based on what my sources tell me, but it'll be cooler than it is here in the bowl, but that's okay.
Obviously, I look at the weather pretty much as soon as we finish whatever game that we're playing, I always go to my weather app and I put the city where we're traveling to in my Yahoo app, in my app. And so on Monday morning, I was sitting in this spot where we do Texas Monday, and I put it in, and it showed rain on Sunday in Nashville, and I just went, no! I've almost made it. Thankfully, we played the Saints and we played the Colts this year, so that was 2 more games inside. So I only had to withstand 6 outside, and it hasn't been bad. Then you threatened Mother Nature in England. She answered for a little bit, but then she pulled off.
I said, Johnny, look, it's not even raining here. And then as soon as I said that, the game started, and it started raining.
Yeah.
The other thing about rain, besides the fact that you're standing in on the sideline, I think I was talking to Jonathan Joseph. He was at the Fuddrucker show Tuesday, and I said, what's ideal weather conditions for you? Do you want it to be rainy and gross and the offense struggles? He said, no, as a secondary,
no, you
like
clean.
crystal clear, clean weather because you want them passing the ball.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they're just going to run it a bunch, and you don't get to do your thing.
Yeah, and beyond that, you want to be able to make clean breaks on the ball. And when the field is wet, you got to chop your steps, and it's tough. Any kind of snow or rain, I think, makes it really difficult on defense because the offense knows where it's going, and you don't, and you got to try and cut and move.
That's also true.
Sometimes you see more offense in a game like that. Now, the rain sometimes not because the ball gets slick, but sometimes when you get like those big snow games, sometimes you end up getting some pretty big yardage put up there. So
the ratings, though, through the roof during snow and rain games.
Oh,
just FYI.
My father-in-law hardly ever watches football. Hardly ever. Like he didn't watch football at all before I married my wife. He will text me now, John Boy, game on CBS. It's snowing. And he'll tell me that. And I'm like,
I'll totally.
We
click
call
over.
Papa. I'm like, Papa, I'm at that game. I'm doing that game.
I see. I'm in the snow.
I'm in there. I get it.
All right, we're getting some of your questions. Let's get to those. Brandon on Facebook says, "Is Will Fuller the fifth playing on Sunday?" Brandon, if I had $1 million and I was able to answer that question, I'd answer your question. I'd keep $1 million.
$1 million.
But
that's what you'd have. You'd have $1 million.
I'd have $1 million.
Because you'd be dumb if you bet it.
I'd be like, "Thank you for the question. Here's your answer." The thing with Will Fuller is, and this has been the case the last few times he's played.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like he's always limited in practice.
Yeah.
But then you always see him go full go like around Friday or so.
But they never put him on there. I don't think I've ever seen him as
I've seen him
full on Friday. I don't think, but I could be
He
wrong.
was a few weeks ago against the Patriots. He was a full go. But sometimes guys are still limited throughout the week, and then they still practice. Bradley Roby was limited for weeks and weeks. And I don't remember if he was a full go before he practiced. But
no, I don't think he was. I think he was always limited.
He was always limited. So really, my answer is there's no rhyme or reason. But right now, he's been limited this week. So I think if he is a full participant in practice today, then I would feel very confident that he's playing on Sunday. But we're not going to see that practice report till later in the afternoon.
Yeah,
now, if he's limited, my guess would be that maybe they would wait on him.
If he's limited, it could. I mean, here's the thing. People ask me all the time, like, DNP is pretty easy. Like, what's a limited participant versus a full participant? I mean, you can be limited. Like, they could take you out of one drill, and you could be limited. You could do one drill, and it be limited. So there are different ways that I mean, the limited thing to me doesn't mean a whole heck of a lot. What matters to me is the status report that comes out on Friday. Because that's when you find out. Now, my guess is that it'll show Will as being questionable. Because why not? Because do you want the Titans to know whether he's playing or not? The Titans are preparing for him to play.
They have to prepare no matter what.
They have to prepare for him to play, but it's always nice to kind of leave that little nugget out there just in case. It's like with Von Miller. On the Texans prepared for Von Miller to play. So they weren't totally shocked, but I'm sure there was this, Von's going to play. I mean, and didn't change anything because it would have mattered if Drew Lock didn't play last week. But with Von Miller, you still look at it and go, okay, remember all those things that we worked on against Vaughn? We got to put those into play.
Those up there.
Now, there are probably some things they worked on just in case he didn't, and that's kind of pushed to the side because Vaughn's going to play. So it's kind of the same thing. Players like that, keep them questionable. That's fine. Keep the other team guessing a little bit. That's fine. Look, Derrick Henry hasn't practiced for the first 2 days this week. So he's got a hamstring issue.
He said he's playing.
Yeah.
Here's the other thing with questionable guys, and then we'll move on to the next question. They also, a lot of times, they'll be listed as questionable, and then it just becomes a game-time decision, which means before the team goes out there for warm-ups, you'll see them trying out on the field with the medical staff.
Yeah, they're working routes or pass rush.
To see how they feel.
Yeah.
And then the decision is made really on that game day Sunday, how they feel. Because a couple of days makes a big difference for a lot of these players. All right. Trey on Facebook says, who is your favorite player to interview? I assume you're meaning current players.
Do both. Do all-time and all-time and current.
Okay. I think all-time I've always said Antonio Smith is my favorite because he's got multiple characters. I mean, anytime you've got alter egos, I'm a fan. Because then if I don't like who I'm dealing with, I'll just switch alter egos and the ninja Tonstradamus. He'll give me predictions. I had a chance to interview him this year because he was a home field advantage captain.
Yeah.
This week I actually interviewed Jacob Martin, and that'll be up on HoustonTexans.com. Shameless plug. And it'll be on Texans Buzz next week, and I'll tweet it out a little bit later as a podcast. He's got a lot of great stories. He tells one story that will make the hair on your arm stand up, and that's all I'm going to say about that. But I also like
2012.
Yes.
Oh God, I know this story.
It is chilling.
I was doing late night radio when that particular event happened.
Yeah. So
it's
Jacob
wild.
Martin is my new favorite, but I also like Whitney Merciless. He does Fuddruckers out with us, and there's never a shortage of things to talk about with Whitney Merciless.
When I was a young pup in the radio business, I was with Sean Pendergast at a radio station, and we obviously, because we weren't connected to the Texans, we could not get like the name Texans. We couldn't get Matt Schaub or Andre Johnson or Dwayne Brown or anybody like that. So we just went for guys that we thought would mesh well with us and would be good radio. And one year we had a 3-man triumvirate of David Anderson, Joel Dreesen, and Tim Bowman. They would come to wherever we were. We did remotes on Mondays, and we rotated amongst those three. And they were a riot. They were a riot. And Joel Dreesen, I'll never forget, Joel Dreesen, he and his wife's parents came one time, and I can't remember where we were, and they brought their baby. They just had their baby. When we had homecoming here a couple weeks ago, he was with his kids, and I was like, oh,
that's the baby?
That's the baby. He's like 9 years old now,
wow.
And I was just like, oh, my gosh. Those were my favorite because they were just – they let anything fly. They were such good
David
radio.
Anderson had the Conan O'Brien hip.
He was
the hip string dance.
He's so good.
Yeah.
Current players, I love Justin Reed. I love getting a chance to talk to Justin Reed. I mean, he's always fun. We get Deshaun.
DJ Reader is a lot of fun too.
When we get Deshaun in here, Mark and I, we just shut the door and we're just talking radio. I mean, Deshaun's fun to kind of go into a lot of different things. Mark and I kind of fell out of our chairs. We were like just talking about different hip hop artists, and we said, who's like your favorite old school hip hop artist? And he goes, I don't know, Gucci Mane. And Mark
is like, yes.
Mark almost fell out of his chair like, man, that's like current to me. I don't even know if I know who that is.
1980 is current to Mark.
We laughed so much. That's because Deshaun, it's
old
school to him, but it was just like
Mark
and I were like, I mean, I knew who Gucci Mane was, but I was like, Mark, you got any clue? So Deshaun's really fun to interview. From that perspective. So I love Hop. Hop will give you a bunch, but sometimes one of the best guys to talk to, just no mic in his face, is DJ Reader.
Yeah.
Even with the mic is running his face, DJ Reader is very, very good. But just kind of sitting and chatting, talking ball with DJ, he's
so
awesome.
funny too. He's
good.
got a very slick sense of humor. Okay, Lewis on YouTube says, "What is the game plan to beat the Titans on Sunday?"
I've got it right over here.
Well, Lewis, Bill O'Brien handed it to us just a little while ago.
I have it right here.
In all seriousness,
I'm fighting
though,
the urge to put it out. I can't do it. I have to leave it.
We were talking about this on Extra Points. I was on with John McClain this week, and is it just unanimous that you've got to stop Derrick Henry, that you've got to just stop the run?
Yeah.
Priority number one for Sunday's game, if that's possible to do completely.
Yeah, I think from a 30,000-foot level, that's what you have to do. But how do you do that? And that ends up being the key. And I think for just watching Henry, he has come into 245 pounds. I mean, the thing is tackling that guy in December when you're just beat up. We got to do that 2 out of 3 weeks. That's the hard part. And you don't do that with one guy. So you've got to be ultra run disciplined. Your run fits have got to be perfect. Guys up front can't get knocked off the ball, get knocked into linebackers. That makes blocks easier. And then the guys, when they get squared up on Henry, they've got to make sure that they get a good piece of him and that everybody else is rallying to football. This can't be a one-on-one tackle situation against him. He's going to embarrass that guy that tries to tackle him one-on-one. But the other thing you've got to be concerned about with him is his ability to cut back on zone runs. He did that against the Raiders. And when he did it against the Raiders, there wasn't just a hole. There were gaping holes. I mean, the size of this table that he was able to cut back through. So the backside players, this is the way I put it on my Know Your Foe article, the backside players are important as the front side players. And what I mean by that is a zone play will start this way. So the players on this side obviously are important. They got to hold up. They can't just get mashed, but they got to hold up. But the players on the backside, they've got to be strong as well. They've got to be running to the football so that when Henry does cut it back, they kind of meet. What the Raiders didn't do was they all ran over this way.
Oh, right.
And everybody did. And then Henry cut it back. So you've got to have guys that play, but you got to have a couple guys that are disciplined enough to fit where if he does cut it back, you're there to stop him. So the Raiders did not do that. The Raiders didn't do much of anything. The Raiders' safeties were undisciplined. One of the Raiders' safeties is a guy that you know very well and likes to eat with two spoons, and he got destroyed because he was not disciplined enough playing what he was supposed to play. And then because they weren't disciplined, they got caught watching Derrick Henry, and then all of a sudden Tannehill threw over the top. So it's really nothing but the basics. It is being disciplined in your roles and responsibilities, what your gap responsibility is for that play, and then you got to tackle your you-know-what off. And you got to tackle as a team. You can't be one-on-one. You've got to tackle as a team.
I've heard some of these secondary players, some of these DBs say that he's maybe one of the biggest backs they've had to face.
Oh, there's no question.
Like, is there a bigger back than
he's
Derrick Henry?
6'3", 245. Now, the thing about him is he's an upright guy. So he runs upright. He's a lot like Eric Dickerson used to be, where he runs upright. So you'd think, okay, well, you can get a good, clean shot on him, but teams don't. They don't. I don't know if that's because they kind of misjudge his speed, because in 3 steps he's gone 7 yards. So, I mean, I think sometimes teams misjudge that. The Texans have done a decent job at times on him. But in 2018, last year, they put him in the Wildcat. They snapped him the ball, and he's picking up 3 yards, 4 yards, 6 yards. And the thing is once the Titans get to 3rd and 4, okay, you kind of held them in check for the first 2 downs, but now it's 3rd and 4. So what do you play? Do you play nickel? Do you play the run? Like, what do you do? And that's where it gets kind of dicey, and that's what he'll do. He'll pick up a couple here, a couple there, and before you know it, you're 3rd and 5 or less, and you're kind of stuck in between, and that really plays to their advantage. So you got to make sure that you do more than give him a few yards up front.
That actually brings us to our next question. Joshua on Facebook says, what do the Texans need to do to get off the field on 3rd down? I know you're going to start with keep him in 3rd and long situations, but how does that happen?
Yeah, I mean, you've got to be that much better on 1st and 2nd down. So when you have an opportunity to make a tackle at the line of scrimmage, you've got to make it. It can't be a situation, like I said, he's 6'3", 245 pounds, so he's always falling forward. Well, a big guy like that falls forward. That's another yard and a half. So you've got to stone him right at the line of scrimmage so that he's not falling forward, pick up another yard, and it's 3rd and 8, or it's 3rd and 6 instead of being 3rd and 9. And, those 3 yards doesn't sound like much, but that's a pretty big difference. You want to be able to get in past determinate situations. If you're in 3rd and 4, do you pass it? Do you run it? Like, what do we do? So you're caught trying to match their personnel. Well, with their personnel, they can be in a run set, but that could be a pass for them. They could be in a pass set, and then they can still run. So you get caught. So if you put them in 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, okay, we're going to let you run. We'll tackle you for 6 yards and have you punt it to us. So you've got to get them in passing determinate situations on 3rd down. That's got to be the key. Now, the problem in some sense was last week against Drew Lock, he got in 3rd and 12. First time he got in 3rd and 12 down on the goal line, he threw a laser to Noah Fant for a touchdown. So once you get to 3rd down and you get to 3rd and long, your job is not done. And I know the defense doesn't look at it like that. Like, I got 3rd down, we're good. But once you get to 3rd down, now you got to finish it. Now you got to put the nail in that drive's coffin and get them off the field and get the ball back to your offense. And here's the other way. How do you need to get off the field on 3rd down? Don't be on the field on 3rd down. Don't get on the field on 3rd down, meaning let your offense have the ball for long stretches of time, and that'll leave that offense on the sideline. So when the Texans have won games this year and won them on the road, they've had a 15 to 20 play discrepancy between their plays and the opponent. Kansas City only ran like 50-something plays. We ran 70
Time of
something
possession in that Kansas City game was amazing.
And
if they could do that again.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the kind of thing, because that's the way the Titans want to win. They want to win through time of possession.
Right.
Think about it is they've been explosive. I don't think they can be as explosive. The Raiders' defense is a joke right now. So I don't think they can be as explosive against us. So I don't think in 24 minutes of time of possession they're going to put up 35 points or even put up 24 points like the Chiefs did. So we've got to keep it out of their hands. So keep it out of their hands. We've got to run and pass with a good mix offensively to keep them off the field so that when they get on the field, there's no rhythm to their offense. So there's nothing there. So they're kind of herky-jerky, kind of what's happened to us. We get out there and we're kind of like, well, we run it, we can throw, we can do those things, but we're kind of out of sync a little bit. Once we got to the second half last week, we were a little bit more in sync, and we went and put 3 touchdowns up on the board. But we got to do that right away and keep them on the sidelines.
All right, here's a popular question, and I seem to get this almost every time we have to answer any sort of questions. Carlos on Facebook wants to know, what is the news on J.J. Watt? Now, obviously, we've seen the news and the reports that J.J. Watt could possibly return off of season-ending IR, perhaps during the postseason. But no one has confirmed that. No one has said as much, and no one's even talking about it because it is so soon to sort of jump into the future and see how JJ's feeling when that time comes. However, with that being said, it's entirely possible because the Texans only brought back one player off of IR. That was Jordan Thomas a few weeks ago against the Colts. Yes, against the Colts.
Yep.
And so now they can bring back one other player. Until they bring back a second player that's not J.J. Watt, of course, speculation is going to continue that that spot is reserved for J.J. Watt. But what do you say, Johnny, when or if the postseason starts? I don't know how you want to word it. Is that a possibility that J.J. Watt comes back, maybe just for that final stretch?
Well, anything's possible with JJ. I don't put anything past JJ to get back. I mean, the thing is with a torn pec, I don't know if he's at risk of re-injury. I don't know any of that. The torn pec's that's a kind of mystery to me. I don't know. I know guys that have had it. You know, Whitney had it. He said, and I remember him saying this. Now he heard his in October,
right,
middle of October
against the Chiefs.
Yeah. JJ's was a couple weeks after that. I remember Whitney was on Texas radio with you guys at Fuddruckers, and I was listening. And he said, by late January, early February, I felt fine. Well, do the math. Late January, early February, it just happens to be some of the bigger games in the NFL. But you obviously have to be able to get there to do that. So would I put anything past him? Heck no. Not at all. Would I love to have him back? Absolutely. Am I counting on it?
You obviously
There's
can't.
No way
you can't plan. You can't plan or count on the fact that we're going to have J.J. Watt back for this stretch of time. I think that's really expecting a lot and putting a lot on a player. But you're right. Never count J.J. Watt out. We've heard that many times before. And man, how exciting would that be if things were to play out well? Bill O'Brien did say his rehab's going very well.
Right.
Very well is very different from, look, he's back on the active roster again. So really, there's no news on J.J. Watt. It's something that we continue to monitor. And of course, if anything changes, we'll let you know. But right now, he's still on IR.
Yeah, exactly. He's still on IR, and that's the key thing. And you mentioned the other key thing, which is if you have an injury over the next 3 weeks, and you look at it and say, "Boy, we need to bring this guy back," then at that point the determination is made. As long as the speculation will stand for as long as they don't bring a second person back.
Because
that speculation will be there. Hey, they haven't brought a second guy back. So that's when when obviously that speculation ends if they have to bring somebody else back. But I wouldn't put it beyond JJ at all. I mean, he's a freak of nature. We've seen him in the hallways, doing his thing and getting working out, and would be cool to get him back for a playoff run, but. You got to get to the playoffs.
You got to get there
and the
first.
playoffs actually start
kind of on Sunday.
Him. Yeah.
You got to win 2 of these last 3. Any 2 will get you in.
For sure.
So you could lose Sunday, win the last 2. You could win Sunday and win one of the last 2 against Tampa Bay or Tennessee again. But it has to start with winning.
There are a lot of different playoff
and you'd like to win on Sunday so that you're one step closer.
Yeah, you're exactly right. You want to be one step closer, and then your magic number at that point a magic number in baseball, for people that baseball, magic number means combination of your wins and their losses. If you win Sunday, the magic number is 1. All you have to do is either beat the Bucks or beat the Titans at the end, or the Titans have to lose to the Saints, who they play in Tennessee next week. So this one, it's a big one. Now, Texans lose it, doesn't mean the season's over. It doesn't mean that things get more difficult, but you deal with it. It's playoff football. It really is. It's playoff football on Sunday in Nashville, a place the Texans haven't won deep since 2015. I know you knew that because we've been to every game down there.
I did know that, but I just love being in December and having these games matter and being important, because we've had a number of seasons where you're in December and playoff hopes are long gone, a distant memory. So that's definitely not the case this year.
2017 or no?
2017 was rough. 2013 was also very rough. It was super rough. I was here for that too.
That was your first year. I can imagine, like, is every year like this?
People wanted to talk about the draft in November, Johnny. I was like, I'm not ready to talk about the draft in November.
Should have called me up.
I should have. It was before I knew you, Johnny. True. I would have. Now I would have.
A few months after that.
But you know what? It's exciting to be talking about football, and we'll be out there in Nashville on Sunday. Texans Unlimited, presented by Verizon. John Harris and I will be on the field. We'll know the answers to all these questions. Is Will Fuller playing? What are the Titans going to do? And we'll show you the weather forecast. Does Johnny have to bundle up or no? That's all coming up on Sunday. But for now, that's going to do it for Cooler Talk, presented by Arctic. Thank you so much to all of you watching. And as always, go Texans.